Let's start with the end in mind. As part of my human in the loop experiment, I'm looking to see how far one single person can push being a one-man publishing business. And in order to be a one-man publishing business, you need a website, right? So here's mine. I've been working in this domain for over 20 years, which is why I chose a publishing business. I could have chosen something else, but I don't know it as well. But with every publishing business, you need a fast website. So what you're looking for is a site that loads fast on mobile and Google's core web vitals. So let me just show you what we've done. Let me pick this one. You click on it, you want it to load as zippily as it's done. We started by using the Wix blog, and that was slow. Let me explain what the problem was. The Wix blog is a great app. However, it's got loads of stuff in it. It's got all the new AI stuff. It's got all the references in it. And all of that operational stuff inside that app slows it down. We could never get to a performance metric on mobile. Forget desktop. Desktop, it's lightning. But on mobile, we could never get it above 45. I think occasionally we hit 50, depending on, what day of the week it was. But what I'm about to show you is how we got to 85 on a web page, which is going to be important if you're thinking about content marketing in a very straightforward way. So let me show you at a top level how we did it. I'll trust you all to read, but this is what we did. And I'll show you around our website how we've got it working. We ditched the blog app, basically. We exported it and imported it into one collection, which I'm going to call the operational collection. And that collection had all operational fields, so fields that you may need to create the content, but they're not really required on front-end display. They had all the reference fields, like say if content relates to another piece of content, all that was in here. And in our case, it had fields that then run AI scenarios. So we'd have a piece of content, click a button, runs off to run an AI scenario powered by make.com, comes back and let's say gives us further reading content and so on. We then created some simple backend code, which I will share with you in the description of this video. I'm going to try and comment it as much as possible, but that simple backend code, you click a button and effectively it went, what type of article is this? Oh, it's an article, or it's a how-to, or it's a tool review. So depending on that, it then took the relevant fields, the operational fields from in here, that were in here, and pushed them into a collection, a separate collection. And that collection drives the front-end display. So in that, what I call front-end collection, there are only the required fields to display. No reference fields, that'll slow it down. No reference fields. So what we did is we turned reference fields like related stuff into a flat HTML field in this, and also created a scenario to take all images that were inside the rich text fields, which are effectively recurse objects, and turn them into WebP because it doesn't natively do that. So what you end up with is a front-end collection that's super clean, and then that delivers you that lightning fast web page. So let me show you our backend. So this very quickly is like our admin blog production, and that works on that master production collection. It's a mess because there's only a few of us using it, but the concept is solid. So if we then look at that MCP thing, click on manage, and you can see here We've got all these buttons that do certain things like generate images, generate meta, generate the impact areas, so that what happens is it takes the key themes and summary of this article, which is also generated by AI, finds the right impact areas and puts them in for you. So in a way, you can kind of go nuts and start really designing content workflow that suits your needs. Obviously, keep it a bit tidier than what I've got. But for example, we also created a flow that'll identify internal links. So when you click on this, you get a Google Doc and says, hey, these are the keywords in the document, and this is what you should link it to. Anyway, enough of that. That's not what I'm showing you. So you've got this, and then you click push live, and any changes you make in here then get pushed to that live collection. Let me show you the Wix backend. So you can see that there are these front-end collections. I've called it Better Blog. That's how it started. There's how-tos, and then there's platform tools and text. Those are the three collections that I'm displaying on the front end. And then you've got this monster collection called Blog Production. And inside this, we've got all the fields that we need to run our blog production, which would be redundant on the collection that drives the front end, because they're just simply needed for content production, making it better. Like, for example, what I noticed in the Wix blog app, it's got a full text field by default, because that's how they're driving their AI, and that is 100% correct, and we've got the same. But you don't need that full text field of your entire blog on the collection that's driving your front end. So if we start looking at our front end collection, like let's say take this Better Blog, and you look at the fields, it's completely trimmed down. So we've got title, we've got the ID, and that ID syncs between that production collection and the target collection. Let's call it that for now. Author, main category are the only ones I've kept as reference fields because they are one-to-one. And then everything else is simple, 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 simple text. We also split the rich text field into two fields, because that added a small increment of page speed. So we've got an upper one and a lower one, not always used. And then everything else is just text fields, text fields, text fields. Even the further reading is a text field. And let me show you it in action. It's a text field with simple CSS and really simple href in here. And it's the absolute href for that particular article. So there's very few related fields. So doing all of that gets you a mobile page that's hitting 84. On some of the larger ones, this method drops back down to about 60, just short of 70. And yeah, this one would be a good example for that. So this is a thing about how to automate extraction of data from Spotify. And if we run this in here, I think it might be about 70, but because it's a huge, long article with lots of embedded images, tons of them, in fact. So while it's doing that, I'll show you that right at the end. I'm just going to show you the code. So that's a bit surprising. I was expecting it to be lower, but even that long thing hit 80 now. Like I said, it does fluctuate, but it's high. It's a lot higher than what you would get using the native blog app. And for completeness, I'm just going to show you quickly how we hook this code in. So we've got a few safeguards in here, like don't show the push live button until a certain amount of fields are populated and so on. Just pretty simple stuff. And then when you do click push live, it runs this backend code, publish or update content. I'll run you through it quickly. So we put it in this nice neat folder called content hub. And this is the one that runs the main publishing process. So it literally goes through it, gets the content type configs. These are config files. So if the content type is article, if the content type is how to, we then know which fields to push. And then it runs through everything and it just pushes the update. And the if statement is basically, does it exist? In which case update. If it doesn't exist, put it in for the first time. The beauty about doing it like this is you can use the JavaScript syntax to just very quickly push the array through to your live collection. By the time you watch this, I am going to have exported this and put some proper comments and documentation about what's going on. While you're here, this is the workhorse. It does the publishing. These are the objects that set the mapping for the platform content type. This is the mapping for the how-to content type. This is the mapping for the article content type. It's very extensible. If you were to add another content type, you just need to add another map, and that would be the way to do it. And then this config file literally configures how the relationship is. And you can see that this is, we're just going through and going, hey, how do we do this? How do we do this? Because the master field is still, production collection is still called import 703. You change it to whatever you want. So I hope this makes sense. I'm going to, like I said, I will try and write this up a little bit better. But for those of you who understand JavaScript, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I think it's quite a neat way of doing it. It can be much more extensible and, you know, get you to decent page speeds on mobile, even for really long content pieces like this. I am still, however, minded to switch away from Wix for this use case because it is not really designed to be a publishing platform. We've bent it as far as we can and, you know, got decent performance on the blogs, starting to get some traction, but there are things I want to do on the front end where, to be honest, that recos object, the way it loads that, it just really gets in the way of creating those front-end experiences on articles that you would need for a media type site. However, if you're closer to the Wix use case and you say, let's say you run a shop or a store or whatever, and you're blogging and you're trying to get them ranked, and again, before we started hitting 80, we were struggling to get the site indexed. And if that is part of your go-to-market strategy, if that's working for you, then this could be a way of boosting that performance. So I thought I'd share all of that. It was months of learning and experimenting. I hope this helps someone. And thank you again for watching.